Miss me up every time, that. One of my all-time favourite pieces of music, Land of Hope and Glory. Where are you going with this, Tommy? King Charles, the royal family, the monarchy. That's where I'm going with it. I done a wee post yesterday just about King Charles and wee statement or his revelation about who he actually is, what he actually stands for, and how that the Christian community feel betrayed, let down. So I'm going to do a wee Tommy's 10 minutes on Charlie and who he is, what he actually stands for, and maybe touch on a wee bit about some of the division that causes in our society and how we align ourselves with the royal family and the monarchy. Very quickly, and let's try and keep this to Tommy's 10 minutes and no Tommy's 2 hours. My background obviously is as a unionist, from a bigotry point of view, which is common in Scotland. There's a division where there's a kind of Republican, nationalist or unionist, A or B. What I was doing there at the start with the hat and the flag, a lot of people might have already switched off. Nothing, you're not my audience. See you later, bye. Who I'm trying to talk to is the Christians who think that somehow or another we are supposed to pray for King Charles and the royal family. And I've been saying for a couple of years now, since I woke up, I have seen very clearly who King Charles is. I see very clearly who the royal family are, and it is a complete deception in the church. So let me just get into it. I say in my book, Jesus Goes to Hollywood, that King Charles is a person who I believe is completely 100% wide awake as to who his God is. And it is not the God who the Christians believe in. Let me just say that clearly. And see, when somebody tells you who they are, when somebody shows you the things that matter to them and what they believe in, you should believe them. Now, King Charles, and I reluctantly use the term king, but let's just be formal about it. He is the nominated king in the country at the moment, but he's not my king. Never has been and never will be. The church have somehow or another got themselves into the position where they feel let down and betrayed by Charles. Boo-hoo. He's come out and said he's a defender of faith and not the faith. He's been telling you that for decades, who he is. Now let me just quickly touch on, and if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know where I stand on him and some of the things that I've said. But let me just quickly touch on a couple of things that I say in my book and a couple of things that make it obvious who Charles is and who he serves. King Charles has a long association with Klaus Schwab, he of the WEF, World Economic Forum. Long association, way back as far back as the 1970s. Make your own mind up about that. King Charles was bestest friends with Jimmy Savile. No comment required. King Charles was devastated by the death of his mentor at the hands of the IRA, Lord Mountbatten, who was murdered by the IRA because he returned to Ireland when he was told specifically not to do so, that we know exactly what you're up to with young boys. This is all detailed, recorded. There's nothing conspiracy theory about it, there's nothing. So he returned to let's say, indulge in his one of his pastimes with Andy Iyer. He went, well, we told you what was going to happen. Bye-bye. So that was King Charles' mentor. That was his Lord Mountbatten. And if you accept that you can tell who and what a person is by a company that they keep, there's three right there that should have been warnings, red flags. No Union Jacks, red flags. But let's just say, okay, anybody can be deceived. I've liked people who haven't been turned out not to be fine, upstanding citizens. Let's give them a pass on that one, for the purposes of this video. The next thing that we need to look at is what has Charles been saying for a long, long time. Charles has been saying for a long, long time that he was going to be the defender of faith. The thing that he's came out and said recently that the Christians feel betrayed and upset about. Why? He's been telling you for decades. This is what he was going to do. So there's nothing new about his position. His coat of arms, King Charles' particular own coat of arms, strikes an uncanny resemblance to the beast that's described in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 2. Have a look for yourselves. Which bears an uncanny resemblance to the Rothschild coat of arms. I'm just saying, go and have a look for yourself and join the dots for yourself. I don't know. But if I was going to design my own coat of arms, I don't think I would be basing it on either of those two things. So he's showing you. He had basically, in his coronation ceremony, showed you who he is. Do you remember the state that he got into about the pen that he had to use? The hate-filled face. Because he didn't like the pen. His actual coronation service, if anybody recalls, the Grim Reaper put in an appearance at the coronation ceremony. It's on YouTube. And I don't think there's anybody who can say rationally or honestly that that was a security failure. That is impossible to happen in that setting at that moment. That some random guy can walk past dressed as a Grim Reaper for all the world to see. If that's not enough for you, on the invitations that were sent out for his coronation service, the Green Man appeared on it. I'm not talking about traffic lights. I'm talking about the pagan folklore regarding the Green Man, who represents the devil, essentially. And that was on his... They say it's about regeneration and new life and etc. But it's widely known and accepted who and what the Green Man represents. Is this just starting to kind of become obvious to you from the things that I'm saying, which are all verifiable? I'm not making anything up. It's all in the public domain and it's information that's readily available to anybody who wants to take 5 minutes to look at it. So what are you saying, Tommy? What are you saying? Let's get down to it. Well, let me get down to it. King Charles serves a God, but it is not the God of the Bible. It is not the God represented by Jesus Christ. Why is it that Christians believe that that's who he represents? Why is it that Christians believe this is who we're to pray for and this is... Well, because Christians are easily deceived, that's why. Christians, and I started off with the flag and the hat and the land of hope and glory, and by the way, I'm 100% genuine about that piece of music. Stirs up, I can get misty-eyed. Listen to that, bursting with patriotism, and so there's an element of that in British people where they rightly feel proud about the great aspects of Great Britain. But we need to be able to separate that from who governs us and who the royal family are. Now it's time for wakey wakey, boys and girls. The royal family have nothing to do with God. It's possible that they did at some point, but not in recent times. What about Queen Elizabeth? I'm not even going there. I'm just telling you. When somebody's showing you and telling you and showing you symbols about who they worship, believe them. Take it at face value. Why would they lie about it? The same as all the people on the world stage who are like this and that and all that. They're telling you to your face who they worship. It's Lucifer, Satan. And that's where we are now. I've got anybody who's in any doubt about Charles as a person, if the signing of the coronation wasn't enough for you, there's I was formerly a reader, an avid reader of Private Eye, and there was a story in there which is true about King Charles was in bed in Balmoral and he had some toast and eggs delivered to him in bed because he's the prince at the time. And he wanted them delivered to him in his bed, so breakfast in bed, fair enough. He returned the eggs because they weren't cooked to his satisfaction 7 times. 7. And as I say in my book, I don't care who he is, I don't care what security was there. After the 3rd time, he would have been wearing the toast and eggs if I were the chef. But just think about that for a second. What sort of person inside themselves would do that? Oh, big deal. He was fussy about his, his toast and eggs. He's been telling you for as long as he's been in the public eye as the prince and heir to the throne that he is very interested in environmental issues and politics, which you're not supposed to do if you're the monarch. They're supposed to be separated from that. He's very much involved in it. Why? Because the environmental issue is how they're going to get rid of the people from planet Earth. That's the guys that they'll use for it. Yes, he is all in and behind everything to do with that scenario. So I'm going to finish up because I could go on and on and on. I'm going to finish up with Charles and say, look, church people, wakey, wakey. Your faith has been put in a demon worshipper, an evil person. Why are you wasting your energy on someone like that? your thoughts should be on another king. The one in heaven, the real king, the only king that there is, Christ. And I say this to anybody who's watching this feeling, and I say this in my book, there's an irony in Scotland where, because we're divided with, let's say, a blue flag and a green flag, and you're a unionist and you're a Republican or a nationalist, and that bitter divide, the Pope and the King are on the same team. The symbolism in the Vatican mirrors exactly the symbolism that Charo shows you. The recent meeting was a get-together. They both know who they're serving. And let me just say this, that in no way, shape or form is me making a judgment on Catholicism or Anglicanism or Catholics or Church of England attendee. I am not. What I'm saying is, do not confuse the head, the corrupted head, with the idea behind it. And that's what I'm getting at. So put your disappointment aside, once and for all, forever. Get your faith out of men. Get your faith into Christ. We are now in the end times, boys and girls. God is revealing these things to the world. And he's doing so that ye wake up. So that's Tommy's 10 minutes on King Charles. I'll say nothing more. And tune in to Jesus Goes to Hollywood on TikTok or Tommy Hodson on Facebook for some kind of shorter clips and some of my, I try and put a more humorous light on things, because at the end of the day, look, we need to try and remain sane and we need to have a laugh and just love each other. So that's all I'm going to say, boys and girls. Bye bye.